Salutations, everyone! Welcome back to another Total Warhammer 3 guide. I'm Lord Forwind. Today we're going to be talking about 10 tips to help people play the Lizardmen better. Tip 1. The Lizardmen have very different battle strategies depending on your army units in your army. So, the Lizardmen roster is divided between Soros, Skinks, Dinosaurs, basically. Along with some flying units. But if you're using skinks cannot stand up in hard melee combat, meaning they need to be used very carefully. A lot of them can skirmish first. So they're a lot about positioning, ambushes, flanks. If you start using Soros units, you're going to be getting more into the standard Lizardman gameplay where you kind of just charge in and expect to win. If you're using cavalry, so beginning of your Dinosaurs, it's a lot about flanking and maneuvering. Works very well with the skinks who can skirmish. Or you can just go all the way up here and use monsters and beasts, which by and large, if you're using these, you charge in and you win. Using all of them together will help you win. Ambushes, flanks, and everything else. But just be aware that you can't do straight up melee combat really well with skinks, and trying to do skirmishing with lizardmen is virtually impossible. Since first off, they don't have range. They're all melee lizardmen. And then if you're using Dinosaurs, you got to be careful that they don't get surrounded and their leadership reduced to the point they rout. So just be aware, very different strategies based off what your army's composed of. It will shift as the game goes on and you get more Dinosaur units in it than Skinks, which you'll have more at the beginning. Tip 2. Lord Kroak, which the Itza faction starts with, is ridiculously powerful. He's probably the strongest spellcaster in the game. His ability to absolutely wreck people using the deliverance of Itzas is unmatched. If you can get him and you're the Lizardmen, get him. If you play these guys, you start with him, but the other factions can get him through various events and missions. Get him, you'll thank me later. He's amazingly powerful. Stick him with your Legendary Lord, and you probably have one of the strongest army comps in the game after that point. Tip 3. The Lizardmen lack to a large degree in good early armor penetration. They can get some of these red-cristed skinks which have some armor penetration, but outside of that, most of their main line of Soros warriors do not have armor penetration up until you get into the Temple Guards later on here, which can mean you struggle early game versus armored factions. So just be aware of that. If you're going to fight armored factions, you should bring spellcasters, or you should bring dinosaur units, or you have to bring red-cristed skinks, and just be careful to protect them so that they're only fighting the armored units rather than basic melee units. Tip 4. Dinosaur units solve most problems, but they're extremely expensive. You need a super powerful economy to be able to support a full stack of dinosaurs in it, or even a half stack. Which you should really never just go all dinosaurs. This means you have to pick which ones you want early on, be careful with the ones you pick, and defend them, as well as build up an economy to use them. A mistake a lot of people make, I've seen it done multiple times, is a lot of people try and rush getting dinosaur units to the battlefield, and then they start having money problems. You're better off sticking with Soros, maybe bringing only one, maybe two of dinosaur units until you get a great economy going, at which point switching to mostly dinosaur, half dinosaur armies is really your late game. Trying to rush your late game as this faction can really have some problems in terms of keeping up with the other factions and building up your economy. So dinosaurs are great. Just make sure you can afford them first. Tip 5. Each legendary lord plays very differently in the campaign. The ability of some of them, like Hexoatl, have the ability to gain extreme magic users very early on, powerful Slaan mages. Whereas someone like Kroak here in Itza, his faction focuses on defense for use of Soros. If you want to go play as the Lizardman, whose name Hexoatl or whatever is way down south, he plays so differently than almost any other faction in the game. You cannot port your standard Lizardmen skills over to him. There's a faction that has to rely on skinks for a long time. So you need to learn the unique mechanics of each lord, figure them out, and then adapt. Later on, once you get the money, almost all the factions can use dinosaurs the same, but their early games can be extremely different based off which lord you start with. Some are richer even too. Like this guy gets a gold mine in his starting settlement. So just be aware, if you want money, this is probably one of the best starting Lizardmen factions. Tip 6. The Lizardmen are what I would call a charge faction, meaning aggressive, trying to overwhelm the enemy using charges and just pure melee skill. But remember, and I've already talked about this, but it bears repeating, that skinks and dinosaurs are very good at maneuvers, so you can put a lot of depth into a faction whose main strategy is winning in melee combat. Unlike some of the other factions, like the Cornite ones, who really charge in and stay fighting, the Lizardmen can skirmish with the skinks, can flank and retreat with dinosaurs before hitting with melee. So just remember, you have more strategies than throwing units into melee and hoping to win. You actually have some powerful artillery ranged units as well, so make sure to use those. They really can do quite a bit of damage. And overall, just don't play like a stupid charging idiot. That's Khorne's job, really. Tip 7. Slaan mage priests are extremely powerful magic casters, but you need to get them from rituals. Some people are confused that you actually need to do a ritual per Slaan mage priest, but once you do, you'll get one of the stronger spellcasters in the game. Not on the level of Lord Kroak, but then again, who is? They're great. You want one of them in every late game army. They make up for your lack of powerful range units because they're powerful magic units, which can function as range in a pinch. So get them, make sure you use them, don't neglect them. A sign of a good Lizardman player is that they have the right amount of Slaan mage priests and they use them properly. Tip 8. The Lizardman economy is somewhat lacking. Yes, they have decent income buildings that pay for themselves reasonably quickly, and yes, they do have the ability to combo them, but if you're trying to do dinosaur armies, their economy is lacking. They rely on a geometric network. As you expand, and so long as your provinces border each other and own all of a region, you'll get a very nice geometric web network that will build up. As it does, your edicts in said provinces will get stronger. That's really how you can make more money as well as develop faster, because basically your edicts can level up based off what provinces you own. At the beginning, they're rather weak, but late game, if you've got all the provinces around them, you can start getting huge boosts to your money in certain settlements. Remember, it exists, and try and expand along web nodes if you can. It's very easy for the Lizardmen to go off and create a single chain of owned provinces, whereas you're a bit more, you don't play wide so much as you play wide, but in a certain order. You also don't really play tall as the Lizardmen either. It's a weird combo for a very interesting faction. Tip 9. Surprisingly, the Lizardmen for an order faction lack allies. It's actually quite difficult to get allies as the Lizardmen and keep them. By and large, most of them start down in the South American knockoff Lustria province, where there aren't that many allies. You will find High Elves. You want to ally the High Elves. They will probably be your most reliable. Plus, they fill in roster holes. They have powerful range. They've got, in general, they just fill in a lot of your holes. They can get some powerful dragon units if you get them fully upgraded. They will have, basically, they'll provide range units, which the Lizardmen lack in powerful range units. So the High Elves, by filling that in, make a huge difference. Plus, some of their cav is good. And by and large, it's cheaper than some of your Lizardmen cap. So ally the High Elves. If you can, Bretonnia is a great ally. The problem is the Bretonians tend to hate you. And good luck allying the Empire because of Marcus Wolfheart up here, who just absolutely hates Lizardmen. Tip 10. The Lizardmen will periodically get events that give you blessed spawnings, which are very powerful versions of your basic units. They're great, and a lot of people want to put them in their army immediately. Try not to. Their biggest benefit is that they get recruited instantly. So if you're fighting an invasion and you lose 1 or 2 units, just use your blessed unit to recruit, because they recruit anywhere in the world. You don't necessarily need those recruitment buildings. You can keep your invasion going. Another option you can use it for is on defense. If the enemies are invading your land and you need an army very quickly, they can work that way as well. Since you recruit a lord, instantly spawn blessed units, by and large, you'll turn back any invasions. Just be aware that blessed spawnings don't always occur at a regular rate, and you're never going to amass a huge number of blessed spawnings. There's no real way to get them outside of various events and sometimes missions. So use them, but by and large, you don't want to put them in your army as a basic unit. You want to recruit a normal unit and then replace it if it dies with a blessed unit. And that is it for 10 tips for the Lizardmen. Hopefully you enjoyed them. Hopefully they help you. If they did, leave your tips below, like, comment, subscribe, that great stuff. And I hope to see you all in another video or Let's Play. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.